Everything bad I ever did, I did because I was lonely. Maybe you've noticed the same thing in yourself. One of the most vulnerable times is right when the loneliness stops and a new romance begins. And it's right then, the contrast between having nobody and then falling madly in love with a new person, and they become everything to you. This is the brutal truth about relationships you need to hear. This is where you're subject to deluded thinking. It's an intense cocktail of lust and old trauma wounds and magical thinking about the perfect relationship. And it can push those of us with trauma into a state that feels like everything is now going to be okay. It's a feeling we've waited for a long time, but it's too soon to realistically perceive that. Really, everything in your life, when you get into a new relationship, just got really, really fragile. It's, they used to say this thing in 12-step meetings. It's like a new relationship is like pouring Miracle Grow on your character defects. Truer words were never said. It's when the wounds start showing themselves strong. And there's a way that you can stop that from happening, or at least from, sinking the relationship. My letter today is from a man I'll call Charles, and he writes, "Hello, Anna. I met a young lady, let's call her Lisa, at my church 4 years ago. I was married at the time for 26 years. Okay. I've got my fairy pencil. I'm going to go through and circle things I want to come back to on a second reading, but let's go through. I'll read through. Let's see what's going on in Charles's life. Lisa is a single mom, and she and her daughter touched my heart. Over the years, we talked, and she started to reveal her history of mental abuse and abandonment. Later, as we got more comfortable with each other, she revealed specifics of her abuse of drugs, alcohol, and sexual promiscuity due to her CPTSD. She isolated for 9 years after she had her daughter. She sought God and loves going to church." All right. Now comes the juicy part. She told me one day that she felt she was incapable of loving anyone. I told her that she was wrong. I told her that she couldn't understand God. Without love, since God is love, I would send her things like your videos, among other articles and videos. I pointed out that she loved her daughter, and all these things pointed to the fact that she could love someone. Now for me, my wife was and is a narcissist. She stopped showing me love shortly after we got married, but I took a vow till death do us part, so I was staying in the marriage. Long story short, I fell in love with Lisa, started pursuing her, and she started responding. She told me that she would push me away like she had done with so many suitors before, and she tried several times, but I kept pushing. And eventually I left my wife and committed to Lisa. She has shown me more love in the past few months than my ex-wife showed me in 30 years that we were married. Your videos have been a great source for understanding PTSD for me. It has helped me recognize when she's about to dysregulate, what to do when she does, and how to help her re-regulate. And as a result, Lisa is very thankful, loving, and devoted to me. That kind of dedication is something that I'm not used to, and it actually makes me question if it's real or not. But I've asked Lisa to marry me. I think that we can make it, but I'm still in the limerence stage and have been for the last 6 months. And I would like cooler heads to prevail. So based on this limited amount of information, what do you think about my question? And that's from Charles. Hey, Charles. Okay. So this is the brutal truth about relationships, especially for people with trauma. The early rush of falling in love, and especially the sexual part, and I'm guessing that's part of the relationship, I don't know, but the hormones are going, and our thinking is not so great. Now, if you've been married to a narcissist for 26 years, and you ended up having an affair and leaving by having an affair, these are red flags about your ability to make good decisions right now. I'm not saying it can't work out, but decisions like marrying somebody take time. They take a sober mind, cooler heads, as you say. 6 months is nothing like enough time to make such a decision. I know some people do it. It's ill-advised, and especially for a second marriage and for somebody who's had problems with drugs and alcohol. I don't see a reason why you have to get married so fast. I'm going to tell you that right now. But let's see what you told me about her. She has several red flags, so I'm just going to repeat what you told me. I know you know this, but you're going to hear it from me. As you got to know her, you were crushing on her when you met her and when you were married, and then you talked, and she started to reveal her history of mental abuse and abandonment, and then later about her abuse of drugs, alcohol, and sexual promiscuity. So you could mean different things by the sexual promiscuity, but I'll take you at face value. And abuse of drugs and alcohol, I just want to tell you, Charles, that's a huge thing. And if somebody isn't in very, very strong and long-term recovery, I wouldn't even think of getting into a relationship with somebody with that history. It's a big deal. And it has a relapse rate that you can really only reckon with, honestly, if you face this squarely. One thing I'm going to really encourage you to do is go to the 12-step program, Al-Anon. It's for families and friends of alcoholics. Alcoholics are people, even if they're sober, they used to have a problem with it. Hey, I've got a quick invite for you. I made a free daily practice course that shows you 2 simple techniques to calm the storm when you're triggered inside. It's short, it's powerful, and it helps you feel clearer, more focused, and more at ease, fast. Click the second link in the description section below, or use the QR code right there, and you can start your course right away. A lot of the behaviors you're showing look like classic Al-Anon behaviors of somebody who's been affected by somebody else's drinking. You didn't tell me about your childhood, but if your wife was a narcissist, there's a lot of aspects of narcissism that are similar to being with an active alcoholic. It's not the same thing, but it's similar, and it means you don't get your needs met, and you have to walk on eggshells, and you have to start learning how to completely leave behind your own needs and trying to, make everything right with this other person so that your domestic life will be happy. And this is something I call outsourcing responsibility for your happiness, or donating your working on yourself to somebody else. And I see you doing that very, very strongly. I'm not hearing what you're doing to work on yourself. It seems like you feel, and I believe you that I'm sure there's a lot of truth in this, just not being in an unpleasant marriage and being with somebody who you love and who's giving you love back sounds great. But, okay, she said, I'm not capable of love. Now, for anybody in a relationship, if they had a partner say that to them, I'm not capable of love, I would say time to take a big step back. And see, does that change? Not with any coercion, not with you giving her videos or trying to prop her up with what you think she needs, because this is what we do. This is what we do when we get very other focused or codependent on somebody else, is we go, I think you need to be healing from this. Like, I can't really deal with the problems I see in you, but I can deal with this ideal version of you that I have in my mind, and I can make you into that person by getting you all these resources and getting you to think this way and getting you to believe that you can love. And I do hear you that you're trying to encourage her, and that's what a friend does, but because you're sexually and romantically interested in her, trying to convince her that she can love you and then giving her all these videos and resources, you're trying to make her into an ideal of her that you have. And it's just like a lot of things that have a good intention, it has a dark side. And there's a very high probability it's going to disappoint you. She would end up resenting you for trying to make her into something she's not. She actually gets to, be who she is. And if she feels like changing in the direction of dealing with CPTSD, she can. I'm sure she knows that. But very few of us can be pushed into this. So I just will always call red flag, because it's often people who write to me. They're like, I'm with somebody, I see problems. That's what's between the lines of what you're saying. There are problems here. She says she can't love. She has a history of drug and alcohol abuse. And she's a single mom, so it's a lot of, if you do enter her life, which I think you already have, it's going to really affect a child. If it gets crazy, if you have to leave, so I cannot emphasize enough how much slowness is your friend. For those of us dealing with trauma in ourselves and or in the other person, slow is your friend. Slow allows you to actually experience what the person is like. It's critical, though, as you're experiencing the other person, that you're not trying to manipulate them into being some better version of themselves, who loves you, who has it together, who believes in herself. This is your chance to actually take information in about, like, who is she? What's she about? What are her strengths? What are her weak spots? And this is not to evaluate and judge her. It's to just see, like, does it make sense to get closer to such a person? And there are a lot of reasons why this could really hurt you. And it could hurt her, and it could hurt her child. So when you say, I'm going to ask her to marry me after 6 months together, I'm just like, no, Charles, no. Give it 2 years. Give it 2 years before you think about marriage. You don't need to think about marriage. It sounds like you're very involved already. You know, a quick marriage, it's like a fantasy fix for a lot of us. When we're trying to crap fit, if you know that phrase, where we're trying to fit ourselves to something that we can't really accept. We're not actually okay with it, so we crap fit. We're just like, no, it'll be great. I'll love you. I'll marry you. It'll be like a princess, and I'll get you all these videos, and you'll see it's just trauma. You're not bad. You need a chance for time to show you what's going on inside those wounds. And what Lisa is motivated to do. How does she want to change herself, if at all? That's, you know, it's just part of integrity. And true love is letting somebody be who they are. And you get to witness, like, what are they working on? How do they feel about their weak spots? What are they doing about their strengths? How do they feel about me? You let them tell you. You don't try to persuade them. That's what is sober and sane emotionally. So I know on TV, there's a lot of stories about somebody heroic who goes and saves somebody. And this has a little bit of that air of, like, the savior guy who comes and rescues the girl and convinces her she's great. And then she turns into, you know, this great partner. But I would just encourage you to see this partner for who she is, how she really feels, and what she wants for her life and for the relationship. And allow the relationship to form based on that. And from yourself, of course. I hope that makes sense. I think we can make it, so I've asked her to marry me. I just, you know, you go to church, right? I assume your church has some sort of, like, discernment process or counseling for this. It's really normal and really smart to go to counseling before making a major decision like this. And I encourage you to do that. You're not in limerence anymore, but you might be in magical thinking, because limerence is for people who can't have the other person. And it sounds like she's already with you. You say she loves you and she's devoted to you. It's a little confusing because you also say she insists she can't love anybody. But when she says, I can't love anybody, there's something in her life or her capacity that she knows about herself, and she knows herself better than anybody else. Something's there that she's trying to alert you to. And I know sometimes some of us just put ourselves down and we're like, I'm no good, I can't do this. Maybe that's what it is. But I don't think you'd have mentioned it if you didn't have a concern about it. And you're right to. With time, you can see if she gets more relaxed about that, if she discovers that she can love, and you can look at what her behavior is. What does she say? What does she do? How does it make you feel? And if you're feeling anxious and like the whole situation needs to be fixed all the time, then it's a situation that makes you anxious and doesn't fit what you actually want. That's all. Hey, it's me, and real fast, if you're watching my videos and wondering if maybe past trauma is having an effect on your life today, I want to share with you a list of signs that what you're struggling with now might be connected with neglect or abuse in your childhood. It's good to know this because it can help you know that what's hard for you right now is normal and that healing is possible. You can download my Signs of Childhood PTSD quiz by clicking the top link in the description section below or using that QR code right there. Your challenge right now is to really just take care of yourself, heal your own wounds, and believe me, 26 years with a narcissist is a huge wound. I want you to take a look at literature or counseling about narcissistic abuse. It's a thing. It has a lot of stuff that really weakens people, and it takes some focus and support to heal back out of such a thing. That's a long time. You don't want to bring that baggage into the relationship, and there always is baggage from something like that. It's easy to think like, oh, they're the narcissist, I'm the normal one, I'm just great, you know, I bring nothing, but there's a reason why you stayed for 26 years. And so we really need to be stoic and realistic when we are considering things like marriage. Only because it's a very, very serious thing. It's financially and for the child and property-wise and love-wise. It's a commitment, and it's a commitment you can't honestly make when part of your awareness is still in denial. So there's a challenge for you. I invite you to get very, very real about this. And I don't think the two of you can do that in isolation, that you can do that with counseling. I don't know about your church. Sometimes spiritual settings can, I don't know, they can have spiritual bypassing perhaps. Any situation where you get support can have problems where they're misreading the situation. So you really need to be rigorous about being your own advocate of thinking through this. So that is the brutal truth about relationships. Our minds get tricked, especially when we have a history of trauma, which you both do. Our minds can get tricked into seeing a perfect relationship where actually there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out before a genuine, real, and lasting commitment can be made. If you liked this video, I've got one you're gonna love lined up for you right here, and I'll see you very soon. So because you will give your entire life to somebody who tells you over and over again, I'm not into you in that way, that is just sitting there being a sponge, a codependent sponge for somebody.